My husband's lips brushed tenderly against the curve of my shoulder, a gesture soft and fleeting, like a whisper against the skin. Then, without uttering a word, he began to withdraw. He had fulfilled his part, taken center stage in our shared symphony, and now he stepped back, allowing the next act to unfold. The room hung in quiet suspense, not hollow, but thick with an invisible energy charged, alive. I could feel it shift around me like the hum of something vast and waiting. The air felt warmer, heavy. They remained still, yet not idle tension rippled just beneath the surface. Coiling inside them like springs wound too tight, he leaned toward me again, his voice steady and low, each syllable unshaken by the storm of anticipation building around us. Take a breath. Feel this? Let it settle in before we begin. His tone wasn't just calm, it was reverent. Then, smoothly transitioning, he added with gentle authority, "And if this moment moves you, consider liking and subscribing to this channel. It's a small thing for you, but it fuels the fire here. It truly matters." A pause, a grateful look. "I'm glad you're here. Let's begin." He revealed himself fully then, not just in presence, but in intention. His body folded against mine, with practiced ease, immersing us in the rhythm we had come to know so well. His breath stuttered in my ear, matching the tremble of mine. The sheets beneath us bunched and twisted, damp from the heat rising between our bodies, clinging like second skin. My legs wrapped tightly around his hips, a motion both instinctual and defiant, as though letting go too soon would betray something sacred. Then came the kiss. It wasn't rushed or careless, it lingered, poured out slowly as though he were leaving a piece of his soul behind in every brush of his lips. His hands never wavered, one anchored at my waist, the other tracing my side as though memorizing me by touch. He held on like I was a fleeting thing that might vanish if he blinked. What we shared in that space was more than just touch, it was devotion carved into motion. His attention never drifted. Every breath, every press, every shift of his weight held meaning. When it ended, if it truly ended, he collapsed beside me, his breathing ragged, skin shimmering with sweat. My chest rose and fell in uneven waves, and above us, the ceiling stared blankly down. But inside, beneath the stillness of my expression, something still stirred a flame that hadn't yet burned itself out. My body pulsed with a lingering ache, one that was neither painful nor purely pleasurable. It was the echo of something unfinished. I turned to him, eyes heavy-lidded but alive. "Again," I whispered, my voice soft but unyielding. He opened his eyes slowly, the corners of his lips lifting into a smile worn thin by exhaustion, but underlined with quiet affection. "Just a moment," he murmured, barely audible, and he truly did. Another kiss graced my shoulder, and his fingers, feather-light, journeyed down my spine. He shifted, sliding back into the space we had carved together, wrapping his arms around me once more. His lips returned to my skin, this time at my neck. Slow and reverent. I moved with him, echoing his rhythm, offering him encouragement with each silent nod, each reassuring caress. Yet I could sense the shift, the slight tremble in his breath, the effort it took to hold pace, the weight of fatigue in his limbs. Still, I held him tighter, pressed my lips against the edge of his jaw, kissed my way to the corner of his mouth, and found him again. "It's all right," I whispered, not as permission, but as comfort. His eyes met mine, glistening with something caught between guilt and determination. I didn't see failure in him, only effort, only care, and I loved him for it. Loved him deeply, completely. He stayed there, anchored beside me, sharing warmth, drawing from what little remained. But even with him so close, another part of me, stirred, untouched, and still hungry, not because he had failed me. No, it wasn't about that. It was simply because I wasn't done. The next morning, the topic found breath again, not in bed, but in the kitchen. I was wrapped in his oversized t-shirt, holding my second cup of coffee. He walked in, hair tousled, eyes foggy with sleep, but something intense lingered in his gaze. He leaned on the counter, Watching me for a heartbeat too long? Do you ever feel like I'm not enough? His words were delicate, free from defensiveness. More curious than anxious. I met his gaze. We said nothing for a moment that felt endless. There's something left after? He continued. A restlessness. I can't ignore it. I traced the lip of my mug, breathing in the comfort of its steam. It's not you, I finally said. Everything you give, I feel it. Completely. He seemed relieved, but not entirely. I'm glad, truly. He took a step closer. But it's still not enough, is it? I studied him, his face, his posture, his calm honesty. There was no shame in his tone. Just a truth laid bare. I exhaled slowly. I don't want more because you lack something. I want more because I feel it in myself. He nodded, almost to himself, absorbing it. What if I could give you that? He asked softly. What if there's a way to give you more without losing what we have? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. My silence said enough. He reached. Across the counter, his hand wrapping around mine. A silent promise flickered behind his touch. He was already thinking of the how. 2 days later. He returned from work with 5 men I had never seen before. No warning. No explanation. Just a silent procession of strangers behind him, moving like they belonged. They removed their shoes at the door, half-shrugged out of their coats. They nodded politely, but their smiles held something unreadable. I stood in the kitchen, knife mid-air above a half-chopped onion. Oh, dinner's not ready yet. That's all right, he said gently, setting his keys down. They didn't come for food. The men settled around the dining table like they'd done it a dozen times before. Their words were few, just small talk about traffic, work, passing news stories. But their eyes found me again, and again, not demanding, not aggressive. Just watching. Measuring, he uncorked a bottle of wine, poured me a glass, and placed it. In my hand, you okay? He asked. I nodded late, unsure. His hand brushed my hip, just barely. He leaned close again, his breath at my ear. They're here for you. The moment stretched. My heart thudded hard, and the words settled over. Everything like a curtain dropping. They have come for you. Then David, my husband, crossed the room. He kissed me, not gently, not hurriedly, but completely. Possessively. As though that moment was his claim, the men didn't speak. They lined the far wall across from the kitchen, illuminated by soft, golden light. Their expressions unreadable, yet alert, curious, intent. David's hands moved slowly. One slipped beneath my shirt. The other guided me with certainty. He took my hand. We walked in silence. Together, his lips grazed my collarbone, heat in every breath. I didn't resist. We moved together, back toward the counter. Every step was deliberate, not hurried, not hesitant. As though this was meant to be witnessed. As though this was just the beginning. One by one, until the gentle touch of fabric ceased to exist between us. Cool marble brushed against my skin, sending a shiver coursing through my body. Retreated a fraction, allowing himself to absorb the significance of the moment before leaning. And once more his hands glided over my thighous mouth, traced the same route, deliberate and unhurried, as his lips met with purpose. I exhaled not in haste, but through a deliberate breath that had long been held within me, remained steadfast, anchored. In his purpose, his touch moved with a serene contemplative rhythm. He moved at his own pace. He was being genuine. His movements carried a certain sincerity. If you were attempting to communicate solely through his very being, I studied myself, fingers gripping the edge that lay just behind me. Gentle warmth enveloped my building, gradually layer upon layer until my breath was momentarily suspended. Every instant drew me further into tranquility. I was not in captivity. I was being observed in the stillness of the room. A palpable tension hung in the air. If every gaze was a weight upon my shoulders, our presence lingered in the atmosphere in undeniable force. My husband stayed near, completely engaged, never faltering in our shared cadence. His deliberate actions crafted an atmosphere that was both subtle and unmistakable, and then without. A moment's thought me body inclined slightly toward Hema's. If the very forces of nature had altered as he finally withdrew, he ascended with deliberate slowness. Lips grazing my stomach then my chest, and finally the delicate curve just beneath my jaw. Assisted me in turning softly, directing me to lean against the countertop. Me body moved in sync with his guidance. Arms found their place. Me back curved into an elegant arc. Me breath calm yet shallow. It was at that moment that I caught sight of them 5 men, now restless and in motion. They settled into their seats, jackets unfastened, their postures evolving. Time stood still and silence enveloped them, rendering words unnecessary. The atmosphere in the room had transformed, concentrated purposefully with silence. My husband stepped behind me, his hands found their way back to my hips, anchoring me in place. He leaned in each movement, measured and intentionless. Grip exuded a palpable strength. This approach was deliberate to moving. As he drew near indeed, his breath caressed my neck, igniting the tension that simmered between us. Flowed with him, synchronized our movements, allowing the tension to gradually intensify. Between Yush's focus enveloped me, his presence palpably, if he sought to ensure that every unspoken word lingered in the air between us. I belonged to Hyman. He wished for them to witness that truth, even in this moment, and I allowed it to unfold. A gentle whisper slipped from his lips, descended into a low pace, pausing momentarily before gradually easing into a slower rhythm. Forehead leaned gently against my shoulder, his breath steady and deep. His hands glided from my waist with a gentle touch, descending along my sadash, lingered for a moment longer than retreated. I remained in my place, firmly anchored, humming. Just below the surface beneath me, the 5 men stood in a line, each one distinct from the other. Calm prevails, urgency fades, yet there is a deliberate flow to every action. Jackets slipped from shoulder sleeves, casually rolled hands deftly adjusted buttons. Me husband leaned in once more, his lips grazing the shell of my earless voice, the mere whisper delight in it. Silently the first one advanced, offering no utterance. His hands found their place at my waist, and I surrendered to the moment, approached with assurance and wavering, and composed. My body responded, instinctively eluding the thoughts that were still trying to catch up. I sketched in a single breath. She rose to meet him, engulfed by the proximity and the fervor of his striddy. Advanced with precision, movement calculated and intentional, while my hands rested against the counterarms, quaking as I fought to maintain my composure. Each movement stirred a wave within, constricting a hidden part of me until it consumed me entirely. In an unexpected rush, my breath caught me, body tensed and then relaxed as a sound slipped from my lips unbidden, yet I remained upright. I opened the door, and in an instant he stepped back, his presence lingering even as the sensation faded away. For I could fully grasp it, completely heal. Another came forth, taller and broader. He adjusted me with a gentle touch, his hands firm yet careful. Before leaning in closer, I tightened my hold once more, me knees wavering beneath the weight of it. All his rhythm had shifted, becoming slower, deeper, more intentionality. Each movement bore significance in ripples of tension coursing through. Memi breath caught in my throat. I remained utterly motionless, ensured by the unwavering aura he exuded. Second wave arrived with a more acute intensity. A surge of emotion passed through me, reached for something intangibly that defied definition, and then I released my grip, gasping and disheveled. Yet that was not the conclusion. The third one took their place next. Own hand ascended, curling softly into my hair, tilting me just enough for our eyes to connect. Made no effort to pause his movements. Exuded confidence and certainty. Me breath came in quick, sharp gasps. My body quivered with every surge of pressure. I remained steadfast, unwilling to retreat. I embraced it wholeheartedly, out of obligation, but from a deep-seated necessity. It swept over me once more, amplified, more fervent. A cry erupted from deep within me. The weight of it all unraveled everything around me. He anchored me as I trembled in his embrace, providing stability as the moment unfolded. They had not yet finished. The fourth entered, and once again another positioned themselves before me. He gently lifted my chin, pressed his lips to mine with a deep lingering kiss, and then gracefully settled into place. I embraced him wholeheartedly, advanced with determination. Of empathy unfolds at its own pace, effortlessly, and naturalized the individual behind me. Discovered his rhythm on ahead, mirrored his steps, their motions harmoniously synchronized, own tethering me with serene authoritative, other attuning to the cadence. I provided that the pressure escalated Swiftlight's intensity, becoming unbearable, and when it reached its peak I released my grip. Sound was low and muffled and snared in the space between them. As they retreated, the fifth took its position. My body quaked, engulfed by a wave of emotion, unbalanced and fragile, yet I extended my hand towards him, synchronized with his cadence, allowing the moment to linger once more. Suddenly, I sensed another presence behind him, not taking his place, but rather bolstering and enriching the moment. Tone of them anchored my hips with a firm grip. Another urged my legs. Apratone remained close. His touch gently anchoring me. They toiled in a tednet as a haze, but as a singular flow coursing through my being. I was not lost. I found myself embraced, enveloped, an unwavering presence that exuded stability and assurance. Me breath stumbled, my hands faltered, my voice faltered as the cadence between them reached its zenith. Time seemed to stretch, devoid of any pressing need. They glided with perfect precision, and I surrendered to it willingly. Everything aligned as if guided by unseen hands, igniting a response. I was unable to suppress it, did not ascend slowly. It hit suddenly, without warning. A wave of relief washed over me, powerful and cleansing. My spine curved, elegant lips slightly parted, yet silence lingereth. The power of it coursed through every fiber of my being. Me limbs surrendered, me body surrendered to the embrace of warmth that enveloped me. Was not in the act of falling, found myself being lifted and transported. In the end, a profound silence enveloped the surrounding weight of Annie's dissipated. Their hands gradually withdrew, soft and deliberate atmosphere enveloping me returned to a serene stillness. I remained in that position, bent forward, breath irregular, skin warm, muscles relaxed. A sensation within me resonate in juxtaposition, and at last serenifin. I raised my gaze. My husband David remained in the distance, a statue of stillness, observing. His gaze was fixed upon me. His jaw was set, his hands balled into fists. It was not anger, it was a moment of wonder and solitude. I found myself no longer striving to reach out. I felt whole. And not every man is prepared to allow another to assume his role, yet some do, and it transforms their bond for eternity. So I ask you if it meant providing her with what she truly desired. Would you allow it to unfold? I would truly appreciate hearing your insights in the comments bar. You depart, kindly consider liking, subscribing, tapping the bell icon to lend your support to the channel and ensure you stay updated what lies ahead. Thank you for tuning in. Until we meet again.